All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Good evening. My name is John Tabor. For those who don't know me, I'm the president of Loudon Photo Club, and my background is in IT. I grew up as a software developer, and then a few years later moved into management. So now I'm nothing but a hand-waving manager type, but my background is IT. So much of this that we're going to be talking about tonight is somewhat easy for me. I know that this has been a struggle for some, so I am hoping that this will help people become more comfortable with adding metadata to their photos. And that's a good segue into why do we care? So what is metadata? Why do we care? So if you do a definition on metadata, it's data about data. It's descriptive stuff. For example, your name is metadata about you. It is not you, but it describes you. What is your job? What do you do for a living? Another bit of metadata. It's about you, but it's not you. In a similar fashion, metadata that we add to imagery, it doesn't change the actual image, but it allows us to add descriptive elements to our images for various purposes. We can add copyright information so that we claim copyright on the image that we created. We can add keywords or tags that help describe the contents of what's in the image and what's contained within the bounds of that image boundary. Location information, GPS coordinates, a plethora. I've been waiting a long time to use that word in a real sentence. A plethora of other metadata fields that we can add to our images to help us if we use catalogs like Lightroom, for example. You can do a search of your entire library of images looking for images of a hummingbird, for example, or show me images of a waterfall, and it'll pull up everything in your library that has been tagged with waterfall, for example. So these are just some examples of why metadata is valuable. Now, for our purposes, metadata is important because we're pretty much standardizing on digital competitions these days, which means that instead of printing our images like we have in the past, we are submitting digital versions of our images for competitions. And as such, we need to have some consistency in how we submit those images so that we can identify who is the submitter, who submitted it, who's the artist, if you will. We need a title, just like when we were filling out the log sheet when we were doing prints, we had the sign-in sheet, so you had to give your name, had to give the image title. And of course, that was pretty much what we collected from you. And we need similar information now with our digital submissions so that we can identify who won and what's the title of the image so we know whether it's been submitted in a previous competition. Additionally, we want to make sure, because we are going to be showing these in online galleries via their website, we want to make sure that you get proper credit for the work that you've created, so that anybody who comes to the Loudon Photo Club website, and I'll show you what that looks like. So we are here on the LPC website, and there's now a new menu item called Galleries. And if we click that, it takes us here, which is, I've already opened it up, it's right here. And in here, we can go into competitions, and we can go into the current season or past seasons once we get beyond. So we can open up that season, and now we can see here's the season that our competition we just finished. We can go into novice color, for example, and we can see all of the submissions that were entered for that competition. And if we open up an image, we have the winner of that competition that I happen to open up. And if I move my mouse over it, you get to see down here in the bottom left is a title, Morning Glory. And in this case, we added a descriptive text that said this won first place in novice color, for example. And on that gallery, we can click this button here for additional details. And that now shows us the metadata. So you can see the title, you can see a description, and down here we can see some other information, including
John, can I interrupt here?
Including, in this case, the copyright information. Yeah, what's your question?
We can't see the screen that you're looking. Can you share your screen?
That would be very helpful.
I'm sorry, because what you're doing, I had no idea.
Oh man, that's a very important part. No wonder you weren't keeping up with me. Here. Actually, gotta click the share button. All right, so I don't want to do that one. Hang on, I need to share the other screen. So I need to click that. Stop that. I need to share that screen. All right, that was a very important bit of information. Thanks you for letting me know that I was not sharing like I thought I had. So I get to start over for just a little bit, actually walk you through some of that stuff. So I described metadata, what it is, right? Why is it important? And as I was mentioning, one of the reasons now that we're have online galleries, so we've actually integrated the galleries that we are using for our competitions and other events that we put on using digital assets. That's now linked on our website. So if you go to loudounpphotoclub.com, there's a new menu item up here called Galleries. And if we click on that, through the magic of television, I already have it open. So for example, if we go over here, it's going to bring you here. So you can go into competitions, go into the current season, click on the competition you're interested in. And now we can open this one up and take a look at the images that were submitted for that category and level. So novice color in this case. So I'll open up this image here, which happened to be the winner. And here we can see the title is displayed along with the description. In this case, we added that description to indicate that it won first place. If we click this button up here, that will open up the metadata. So you get to see the title, the description, some additional information here, including copyright information, as an example. We can even click it up and show a lot more information here, and we can see the author, who submitted it, and a whole bunch of other information that may or may not be meaningful. But for our purposes, we are very much interested in making sure that the artist in this case gets credit for that work. So anybody who comes here gets to see who, all right, this is copyrighted, and here's who to contact if we want to buy a copy or a print, for example. So this is why metadata is important and it's valuable for us. When we don't get this information, and I'm going to see if I can find one. All right, like this one here, for example. We don't get the title. Now, the title is not critical for the purposes of our competition. However, what we are allowing is the title to be displayed for the judge to see, so it puts them in the right context for judging the image. The title can be helpful in setting the perspective, if you will, of the judge. So when you don't have the title, it's just the image that they're going to go by, and that's fine. It's not required, but it could help you if you put a good title in there. If we go in here and look for, okay, let's say the judge really liked this image and wanted to give it first place, and we want to give credit to the submitter, we don't see the artist. So we open this up, we're looking for the author field. We don't know who submitted the image. I can't give you the credit and give you the accolades, so this is why it's valuable as well, so that we know who submitted it. Now we can look at the file name. So now we can go down to the file name, and haha, they did put their name in the file name. That's helpful. But if we want to go edit this and say, okay, let's add, so they gave, Summer Beauty, as the title of the image. So I could copy that and I could go add photo details and I can add that title. But I cannot add the artist name. No matter what I do in the software, I can't do it. So this is up to you guys to do that for your own images. And that's what we're here to talk about tonight, how to do it. So with that, let's get into it. Now, some of you are on video, but most are not. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to go into the chat version. Yeah, and I see it now in chat that some of you actually did try to let me know. Go into chat and use the raise hand feature. How many of you use Lightroom as your photo editing or photo catalog system? All right, maybe that's not going to work.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so typed it in there. That's good. Yep, got another one. Okay. Is there anybody here who does not use Lightroom as your photo editor or photo catalog?
No, myself, I don't.
Okay. What system do you use, Masood?
Not much. Just, in fact, nothing.
Okay. So do you use Mac or do you use Windows?
Windows.
Okay. Well, I'll cover you in a minute. Samantha, what system do you, what software or tool do you use? Okay. Greg? Greg is connecting to audio. All right. So let's go ahead and start with Lightroom, and then we'll go and show you some other tools that we can use on various systems. So for Lightroom, and here I have a collection of images that I've added for this purpose for tonight. And close this down, make it a little bit easier and more compact. So as you can see, I've got a collection of images here. And let me show you over here on the right. So where I am is I'm in the Library tab in Lightroom. And on the right-hand side, there are panels that we can open up. Now I've got them all collapsed right now, but the one that we're interested in is the one that says metadata. If I click on that, it opens it up. And right beside the title is a drop-down that will give me different views of metadata. By default, this is what you will see. And this is fine for purposes of Loudon Photo Club. This is all you need right here. So what we're interested in is if I wanted to submit this image to a Loudon Photo Club competition, what I would want to do is highlight that image. And up here, it's got a file name. We can handle that on export, so I'm not worried about that now. I'd want to give it a title. Like in this case, I could name it Bequias Canyon Morning. Nothing imaginative. It was morning in Bequias Canyon. So I could just enter that, and I want to leave the caption blank, and I'll explain that why. Copyright information is populated already, so that's good. And the creator, this one's important. This is where we need you to enter your name in the creator field. And then once I export that, so for example, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to export, export. And in this case, I'm going to just go to the export window.
John?
Yes.
I have a question. This is Neil. There are two versions of Lightroom. There's classic Lightroom where you can do that.
Yep.
And I inadvertently bought the cloud version of Lightroom, and you can't enter that data into it, or not as far as I know.
Okay.
What we're talking about here is classic Lightroom, yes?
That is correct. This is Lightroom Classic, and I'll get to Lightroom, what they call Lightroom now, which is a little frustrating, but the new Lightroom CC. So I'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
So in this
case,
I'm going to go ahead and pick my folder that I'm interested in. So I'm going to go into pictures. I'm just going to pick an empty folder. I'm going to say go to that folder. No, don't want to do that. And what I'm looking for is, do I want to resize? Sure, just, nah, I don't want to resize. This is going to be for Loud Photo Club. No need to, there is no size limitation on submissions to LPC. And that's that. So basically I'm ready to go. So if I hit export, make sure there's nothing else. Okay, good. So here, all metadata I want to export. You can, Lightroom allows you to remove various bits of metadata and basically limit it to just a little bit of metadata to minimize information that you're sharing. I'm going to leave it as all metadata, and I'm going to click export. Now, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Took a moment to catch up. So here it is. Now I'm obviously in Windows. I'm not a Mac. And when I click on this item in Windows, and I'm another thing about Windows is I have the details pane showing. Yeah, that's a toggle that you can turn on and off in Windows Explorer. If you turn that on, it shows you select bits of metadata right here in Windows, including when it was taken, what's the file name, the keywords that you added, as well as the title. Remember how I typed in Boquillas Canyon Morning? There it is. The creator shows up here as author, but it's the creator field. And sure enough, there's my name. So that gives just a brief example of what it does. Now, if we submit that, I'll go ahead and walk you through the entire process here. So if we go and say, where is it? Here. So if I go here to submissions as an example, and I add, you know what? I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it the way that you guys would see it. So what I want to do, minimize that. Give me just a moment here. Actually, the way to do it, I think, is actually go back to Loud Photo Club. So if I go to competition night, yep, there we go. So if I go to what we're doing now is on our website when we post the announcement for the competition, we have the links to the submission galleries down here at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and submit to Experience Color. That's normally what I submit to. So I'm going to click on that, and it takes me here. Now, what I can do from Windows is I can simply drag this photo that I just exported. I can drag it onto the window, release the button, and that's it. Done. If you get this green check mark, all's good. There were no problems. It is up there. On the back end, what we can see as the coordinators of the competition is we can go to the Experience Color submission folder, which is right here, and there's our image. We can double click it, and yep, we got our title. And if we go over here, I've got copyright information and author information. So we've got everything we need to know to help the judge assess the image in the right frame of mind. We've got who submitted it, so we know who to give credit to. And there's copyright information to help protect intellectual property for whatever benefit that offers. It is there. So that is a quick tutorial on how to do it in Lightroom. But wait, you're watching this, you're not sure you followed everything quite right the same way. So A, this is being recorded. B, out here on the website, there is a competition FAQ. And if we go in there, scroll down, not familiar with metadata. Do we have any guidance? Why, yes. Yes, we do. And here is a step-by-step guide to do exactly what I just did. So, in the case of Lightroom, it's here. Now, this is not Lightroom CC, so I'll cover that in a minute. But here are all the steps that we just talked about. So there's that. Now, Neil, I'll come to you in a minute. Masood, you said that you use Windows. All right. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this image, which, and if I click on it, I'm going to delete this copyright information. I'm going to say unknown. I'm going to take creator away. Okay. So this would look like basically like you've done nothing. You just take it straight off the camera. There's nothing but a file name and image content, basically. I'm going to export this. I'm going to use a shortcut that I have for that folder that we were just using. And here is my image. Now, I've selected that image that I just exported. Now, it does have some tags because I didn't take those out, but there's no title. There's no author. How do we fix that? Now, this is Masood, this is where you should pay attention. So again, we can go in the details pane. You can make these edits right here. And that will save it. You can also right-click the image and go to properties. Go to details, and you can edit that information here.
Very similar to the MP3 files. Very
similar to MP3 files. In fact, you add metadata to MP3s, like who's the singer, who's the artist, who is the producer, what's the name of the song, all those types of information, very similar. So here I can add my name. I can also add copyright information.
Yeah, I've done that a lot.
Right, so like that. Then click OK, and all that information now appears. And oh, by the way, if we go back to our website, remember that FAQ page? Step-by-steps on how to do that in Windows. Now, Photoshop. Anybody use Photoshop? Anybody?
I try to use free stuff like GIMP, Darktable, and so on.
Yeah, I'm
honestly,
not familiar with GIMP. I haven't played with that in, geez, over a decade. So I don't recall how to do metadata in GIMP. I'm absolutely certain they have a method. So I would just do a Google search on add metadata in GIMP. Okay, so I won't bother here going through Photoshop live, but here we do have step-by-step guidance on how to add metadata in Photoshop. It's very similar to Lightroom. You get to it a different way, but as you can see, you can still put in the same information in Photoshop. Okay, so let's talk about other tools. So how many, do we have any Mac users that want to walk through on Mac?
Yeah.
Okay, so Bad news, for reasons completely beyond my knowledge, Apple doesn't give you a nice, easy way like in Windows Explorer, how I can edit this information directly in Windows Explorer. Mac doesn't let you do that. So unfortunately, better for worse, you have to go buy another tool to do this. Now, are there free tools that do EXIF updates? Yes. And you heard me say EXIF. What is EXIF? Extended image file format. Anyway, I can't remember exactly what it stands for, but EXIF is basically another acronym for metadata. And there are free tools that let you edit these. EXIF tool, EXIF tool, is one of those, probably the most popular one. It's free. And they do have a version for, I'll show you. They do have a version for Mac. This is probably the most powerful metadata editor I have ever seen, but it's a command line tool. So unless you're familiar with this guy, EXIF tool is probably not what you want. So what I would recommend for Mac users, easy, is this tool called Photos EXIF Editor. As you can see, as of September, it's $4, one-time fee, no subscriptions, pay the $4 and you get this guy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show how to use it. So let's export this image here. Again, it's got limited metadata. I'll go ahead and I'll take that out. And real quick, let me just populate that. Good. Okay. So here, so much like I did before, I'm going to export this image. I'm going to use my shortcut for export because I don't need to show you that again. Exported that file. I'm going to come back over here, and sure enough, we do not have title, creator, or copyright information. Okay. So what I'm going to do, now this is obviously the Windows version of this tool. It looks and acts just exactly as it does on Mac. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it onto here. Now I'm using the trial version of EXIF Editor, so it's going to tell me that I think I'm going to be down. They let you do this for up to 15 photos on the trial version, and then they make you buy it. But here, you see the image, and you can have more than one image, but the image is selected. I'm on the EXIF data, and I can enter my name. I can enter my copyright information. And title, where do I put the title description? So I can put in here, this is actually, and sorry guys, those of you who love tequila, this is not that kind of agave. So anyway, I've given it a title. I have claimed copyright credit, and I put my name in as the submitter. I don't need to change any of this other information. You could, but I'm not going to bother with that right now. And I'm going to click this green button that says Start Process. And this is probably where it's going to tell me I'm down to like 3 images left to do. It's asked me where to put them. I'm going to say, you know what? Let's just go back to here. Yes, I want to proceed. And this is where it says, okay, you know, you're going to be down to 10 if you after this. And we're done. So this tells us whether all of the images successfully completed. It did. So now I can come back over here, and it created a new folder. And when I click on that, sure enough, it's got my title, it's got my name. Sweet. Now when I go back to when I go back to the home, come here, I'm going to submit that image as if I were actually putting it in competition. So this is the one I just created using the Mac version of the editor. I'm going to drop it in here. It's uploaded, everything's good. There it is. If I open that up, oh, look at that. Got the title. Very good. And there is my copyright information. And there is the author information. That's it. Everything we need. All right, so we covered how to do it in Lightroom, how to do edits directly in Windows Explorer. Dan, we covered how to use it for those poor users of Apple products. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, so now, how do we do it for Lightroom CC? That is an excellent question. And that's how we figure it out. I've not done this myself, okay? So let's see if we can figure this out ourselves. I think this video is going to be for Lightroom Classic. And this one appears to be for Lightroom CC.
Hey, John. This is Neil,
Hey, Neil.
who raised the first Lightroom.
Yeah, this is.
I was the one complaining Lightroom CC, but the way I resolved it was going back to Lightroom Classic. So in my case, it's resolved. So if no one else has this Lightroom CC, then you don't cover it for me.
So, and that's good to know, Neil. So let me ask you this real quick. Are we looking at what Lightroom CC looks like for you, like the cloud version of Lightroom? And I'll admit, I haven't touched it since the very first release.
No, it's still a slightly messy program.
Yeah, that's what I recall from my experience. I mean, I don't use it because, quite frankly, it just didn't have all the editing capabilities that I use, and
yeah,
there's just no way my photos will fit within the limitations without paying Adobe a lot of money per month to store all my photos. So it's not suitable for my uses. But
yeah.
So does anybody else use Lightroom CC? Okay, so we won't spend time on that. But I'm kind of cracking a joke about it. But really, if you use a different tool than what we discussed here tonight, it's as simple as saying, you go to the internet, use your favorite search engine, do a Google search, and you'll get a plethora of it. And if you, heck, even go into YouTube, there's Lightroom Classic. So somebody has done this on YouTube, I guarantee it. So almost anything, you want to learn how to make a pencil using your home, your home base lathe down in your basement. There's a video on it, I guarantee. But the point is that whatever tool you use, somebody has posted some information on how to add. Even the creators of these tools will often post how to add metadata using that tool. So that is, make sure, yep, I went through all of my notes here. That's everything I wanted to show. Now, did I not cover something that you want an answer to? As the title of this meeting is, it's like everything you want to know about metadata. So here's your chance.
This is the time for questions now?
It is definitely the time for questions.
Anybody else has before I start I have a few questions. Okay, if nobody is going to ask, I'll ask, but if somebody else has, I'll stop in my questions. John, I mean, you had mentioned at the very beginning, you might have answered, and I might not have paid attention. And if you did answer, my apologies for asking you again. You mentioned GPS as
Yes.
one of the things that you can. Now, I was wondering, let's suppose not me, but another photographer took a photograph and there's the GPS information in the metadata. Will that GPS help me to go to that location and take that photograph? Can I go to that location using that GPS of another photographer? I liked it and I don't know where it is, and I would like to go there. Will that be possible?
Yes. Let me show you. So for example, I use this feature myself. So what I do is when I am contemplating going to a particular national park, for example, and I'm curious about, okay, show me some of the nice, beautiful photos that have been taken at that national park. Like this awesome image that was taken deep in the woods of Shenandoah, or not Shenandoah, but in Great Smoky Mountains National Park. This image is awesome, right? I mean, you've never seen a more beautiful photo of a moss-covered set of boulders in the woods, right? So if I wanted to recreate that, you got to find out where it was taken. Hopefully somebody posted it where their GPS information. I'm kind of kidding. I took this photo in case you didn't figure that out. But the point is that when I'm looking to go to a park like Great Smoky Mountains, and I'm curious about what are some of the images that were taken in that park and where might I go if I want to try to capture my own version of that, I will frequently go to Flickr. And, in the case of, we'll do Great Smoky Mountains National Park. And we've got a bunch of photos. I could probably guess where this one's taken. Yeah, Roaring Fork. So if I were to click on this image and scroll down, this person did exactly what I'd hoped to show. There's GPS information in this image. I can click on that.
Wow.
And it shows me not only where that image was actually taken, which was right here, but some nearby. And I can click on each one of these little pink dots and it will show me what that image looks like.
Last week I went to New Hampshire hoping to get some fall colors, and I came home very disappointed. If I had known this trick, I could have gone to those specific places.
And so this is how I will do some research on my own. Is I'll go to Flickr and let's say that I was going to let's say that I'm going to. Oh, no. I'm not going to do Big Bend. Everybody's heard of Big Bend National Park. I'm going to go to a national park ain't nobody heard of. Let me know if you have.
Oh, yeah, yes. I've heard of the first word.
So Guadalupe Mountains National Park, those are Carlsbad Caverns, not Guadalupe Mountains. This one is Guadalupe Mountains. So is this one. So if I click on that one, and I know exactly where that one was because I was standing right there. Let's see, scroll down. Yep, they have GPS information as well. So I click on that. Sure enough, we're on the western side of the mountain park in the Salt Basin of Texas. And there are some other images that have been taken. Shows you that shows you the desolation that it takes to get there, for example. So I actually use this quite frequently in my research for finding out where I might want to go place my tripod to capture an image.
Great.
Now, using Lightroom, if you are diligent about, oh, by the way, remember I told you I was standing here. Here's the parking lot for that shot where that last image was taken. If you are diligent about geotagging your own images in Lightroom, you can go to the Map tab and it will show you a little pin for where you were. Buquias Canyon. One side's Mexico, one side's US. Or or actually vice versa. One side is Mexico over here on the right, and one side's US on the left. Anyway, so that's geotagging. You had asked about geotagging, and there you go. Now, a point on geotagging. If you follow any famous photographers online, like YouTube personalities or other, big name photographers who have a large following, they will frequently not include GPS data in their images, and the reason is because let's face it, humans can be real assholes. So what they've done is they found that if they go and they find this beautiful place, they post the geotag information so that other people can come and enjoy that beauty themselves, that place becomes trashed very quickly. People show up, they leave trash there, or they trample all the plants and basically just destroy the local ecology. So a lot of big name photographers have stopped including geo information in their images. So you have to find out where they were through other means. So just be aware of that. Now, I don't have that kind of a following. I like reminding my own self, later, I like being able to go into Lightroom and just, all right, just to show you. So if I go see all photographs and go to map and zoom out and highlight all of my images, you get to see where I've taken photos. Including this one way down here, which is another national park way off the west side of the Florida Keys. I kind of like this. For me, it's a way to just revisit memories where we've been and stuff like that. So anyway, that is geo information. All right, what other questions?
Anybody else has before I ask my next question? If nobody, okay, I'll ask. My next three questions are, I think, all related. If I have old photographs, I'm talking about negatives, the slides that I have scanned, I think I can add the metadata to them, even very, very old photographs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And in fact, let's go back to all photographs, and you may have noticed very quickly it flashed up. Here are old family photos. And in this case, I did a little bit of cleanup, and there's no metadata there, but so here's another one.
And I can do this using what you showed, changing the properties?
Yeah, so here's a handsome young fellow right there. So here we can, up here under keywording is where I've done this. I've tagged this as a very young 4-year-old version of myself.
I expected that.
So I also updated the capture date. So here, I'm lucky enough that this print actually has the month and year imprinted on the scan. So it was easy for me to go back and add a capture date, for example. That's metadata. So yes, you can absolutely go back to any image in the catalog and add metadata as you see appropriate.
Okay, my last question would be, when you are in changing the metadata using the properties of files in Windows, I'm talking, you could change even the copyright, for example. I mean, okay, the reason I'm asking, I've been a software tester, so I always try to break the system. So if you have a copyright or an author's name or the owner of the photograph, if you change the properties, can't you just mess it up with all the data?
You can. You can. You remember that tool I was talking about called EXIF tool? Yeah, you can use that tool. You can change any property that is stored in metadata to anything you want. It's just plain text that's included as part of the payload, if you will. So you've got the image data, and within the file, there's a portion of that where we store the metadata information pretty much in plain text. Now,
Sure.
you know, there's still APIs you have to go through to get to it. You know, so it's not like you can just open it up in a text editor and modify it. But it's not encrypted. It's not, you know, protected in any case. So if anybody has a copy of the actual digital image, yes, if they know what they're doing, they can change that metadata to whatever they want.
Okay, thank you. My last question, honestly, I won't ask more. You can change specific properties of a large number of photographs. When you select, say, around 20 or 30, and you click properties, you can change something. You can do it all together as a group change of, not in file name changing, but properties like author or whatever. You can do that, correct?
Absolutely. So let me demonstrate that. So here, you may notice that I deleted. Remember, I deleted the copyright status and, you know, basically my name from that image. But this image has a different one, and, you know, so I probably don't want to do that one. So what we'll do is I'm going to select all these images. I'm going to unselect the one that my wife took because I don't want to mess up that one. And I want to say, yep, all of these are now copyrighted, and they were copyrighted by me. And we'll do that. And that's it. Nothing more magical than that. Now,
my question.
But wait, let's go. You mentioned it. You know what's going to come next, right? A test. So remember this image with the agave did not have my copyright information in it, for example. So I'm going to select that one. Only that one is now selected. And there it is. Now, if I change this one to the correct value, and I click on this one, it shows the new version that I had added. So in Lightroom, you can absolutely do this for multiple images. Remember this tool, Photos EXIF Editor? You can also do multiple images at one time there too. You can do it in a limited fashion in Windows Explorer. You can, yeah, I don't have multiple images there right now, but you can select multiple images in Windows Explorer, and it will let you change some of the metadata fields for multiples. If I recall correctly, not all of the ones will be available to you if you select more than one, but for our purposes, it's probably not much of a problem. But in Lightroom, yes, absolutely. Select all the images. You must be in grid view for this feature to work in Lightroom. So, you know, if I select multiple images and I go into full screen mode on this image, and I go and correct this copyright information, and I go to this next image, notice it did not correct it. But if I go to grid view and I make this edit to that, and all I did was just press the enter key basically, now all of these images have been updated with that information that I just typed. So you need to be in grid view in Lightroom in order for a mass update or a bulk update of metadata to be effective.
Thank you.
What other questions? Going once? Going twice? Okay. So I'm hoping that this session would help us do a good job of, and I'll come back out here just to show you. I'm hoping that will help us do a good job of including metadata so that we get, you know, some help the judge assess our image and the right frame of reference. And when your image wins, we can simply click on this button and find out who gets the credit. You. So if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can get me at president@photoclub or loudounphotoclub.com. or my email that you see going on to the email list, or you can send an email to the Loudon Photo Club email list, which I'm sure you're all subscribed to, or you probably would not have figured out how to get here tonight. All right, if there are no other questions, I'm going to go ahead and terminate the recording.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you
Right.
very much indeed, John.
You're welcome.
I'm going to work on this now.